Now this village in northern Thailand is unusual in that it's separated into two sections. The lower section is Thai and the upper section is Lisu. And what separates the two is this, which is a reservoir. Now this means that the Thais living below the reservoir get water all year through to irrigate their fields, and they have fantastically productive rice 3 times a year. If you are above the reservoir, you can't see it, but it's up in the trees there, that's the Lisu section, and if you need that water you've got to pump it out at great expense. So here's the rice in the lower part of the village. As you can see, it's rich and green and fertile with the hills in the background, and this is the height of the dry season. Now if you compare that with hill tribe fields, which we'll do in a minute, you'll see quite a difference. Right, I've walked about 100 meters from those lush green fields of the Thais in the lower part of the village, and now I'm turning around looking the other way and I'm looking at the fields of the hill tribes, and what a difference. These fields are on steep slopes, thin soil, very easily eroded, nutrients lost, and the quality of the rice and the quantity of the rice is very inferior. It's easy to see why. Two main reasons. One is that the Thais arrived here first. They settled here about 1,000 years ago from southern China, moving across the Mekong. So they were here first, so they got the best land, and they're the majority group. There's 60 million Thais in Thailand, over 60 million, and there's only about 40,000 Lisu. Estimates vary. So they're very much a minority group, and they end up with the worst land. In fact, the land is so bad now that they make most of their income by other means, as we'll see later. This is Don Luong. That's a Lisu village of about 800 people, 50 or so kilometers outside Chiang Mai. Now the Lisu are one of the 7 main ethnic minority groups in Thailand. There are about 600,000 in Myanmar, about 700,000 in China, and only about 40,000 in Thailand. Now the Lisu are a very independent bunch of people. They don't pay much attention to what the authorities tell them to do. They are a law unto themselves, and their women are noticed and are notable for being very strong-willed and self-disciplined. Now anybody can become a Lisu. All you have to do is to marry into the Lisu clan or the Lisu group, and then you become a member of that clan. Now, because the Lisu come originally from China or Tibet, the edge of the Himalayas, and moved down here through Chinese territory, there's a lot of Chinese influence in Lisu culture, as you can see by the decorations around the door and the red pom-poms and all the displays on this house. This is the village shaman, who is the man in the village who can contact the spirit world, and he's also a bit of a Lisu musician. And he's playing the Lisu banjo, and behind him are some of the handicrafts that are made in the village. Now this is Mr. Jaka, who is the shaman. That is the person in the village who communicates with the spirit world, and I'd like to ask him a few questions, if that's okay. What is your job in the village? What do you do for the village, and how did you become a shaman?
theo mấy ở dưới đi bay làm mà họ cũng sẽ cái kiểu mà không có thì mà chỉ là quý mà này
một công nghệ tự động à
không nghe họ tự do là họ sẽ là mày kita mau memangnya kita mau lakunya nggak apanya tuh bapak ini bapak apa namanya apa.
So this is the spirit altar, which is at the back of most houses, but this is special because it's the shaman's house. Now on the left side of the altar are the spirits of the ancestors of the family who live in the house. On the right side there are many cups which are to the spirits of the shaman himself, which means the spirits of the forest and the spirits of the fields and the spirits of the rivers and the rocks and the village. And so that's why there are so many cups here to celebrate all those. Mr. Jaka is showing us some chicken bones which he can use for various reasons to describe if marriages are going to be successful, but it's better that he tells us in Lisu.
Allah jadi daya, Allah jadi daya. Allah jadi daya. Nhưng mà bây giờ con mà nó sản châu, rồi tuyệt tuyệt đây, rồi chủ đây, nó quay này.
คือจะไปไหนในสิ่งที่ผมบอกนะ
นี่ผีนี่ผม
ฝั่งขวานี่เป็นผีฝั่งซ้ายจะเป็นคนถ้ากระดูก
มันจะไปไหนอยู่
ไปไหน
เดี๋ยว
ก็
มาปล่อยให้
บำรุงนี่จะดูแลบอกปล่อยเลยจะดูเขาไปที่ไหนไปต่างประเทศไปต่างจังหวัดเนี่ย
นี่นะอันนี้ไม่มีมาอันนี้ไม่มีนะอันนี้อีนี่น่าได้ไม่ได้อันนี้ไม่ได้แล้วเขาไม่มีไปไม่ได้อีนะ
กระดูกไก่มันจะดูได้ทุกอย่างจะไปไหนจะไปถ้าบอกแค่ถ้าบอกไปมันได้ก็ไป
Sawadee Kap. Now here's a typical Lisu home, built of split bamboo with a corrugated iron roof, one level, dirt floor, very, very simple. Nowadays a lot of the more affluent Lisu are building much more modernistic houses, but this is the traditional Lisu house. And because these people used to be semi-nomadic, moving the villages every 20 years or so, when the land around them was worn out of nutrients, the buildings needed to be simple because they had to be moved every 15 years or so. Now there are two things particularly that the Lisu prize as a measurement of their wealth, and one of them is silver, which we'll see during the dancing, and we've seen some already, and the other one is pigs, and here are some Lisu pigs. Many of these will be sacrificed for the New Year festival, and also they're sacrificed for weddings and for funerals. Here's a pig being barbecued, probably for a marriage or a funeral or a sacrifice for illness. And the pigs are kept right on the edge of the village, and the edge of the village is always marked by water. So those are the pigsties, and there's the little bridge, and that marks the edge of the village. So I am standing outside the village. Now that is quite important because evil spirits can be kept outside the village by the shaman. And if you are sick, then it is customary in the traditional fashion to take a piece of clothing from the sick person and put it outside the village, in the belief that the evil spirit would disappear out of the village and the person would get better. So I'm going to look now, see if I can find some bits of clothing which will mark where that particular little ceremony has taken place. So here's the remains of what was once a little bamboo boat with some shreds of clothing from the sick person, which had been placed just outside the village, just the other side of the river that we saw just now. Now, because most of the village have become Christian or Buddhist, these traditions are dying out. But many people, even though they may have changed their religion in name, still follow the old beliefs. And above the village, and looking down on it, you can't see it, it's in the trees, but we'll see it later, is the shrine to the god of the Lisu, Apamo, and the minor spirits who surround him. And there it is, above the village, the shrine, or should we call it the temple, to Apamo, who looks after and takes care of all the people of the village, according to their shamanistic traditions. Okay, so now we're at the shrine of Apamo, who is the most important spirit in the Lisu pantheon of spirits. He's the closest to a monotheistic god, although behind his shrine there are many shrines to his junior gods. Now this is the centerpiece of the shrine, and the paper umbrellas tell Apamo that people are visiting him regularly, and the same goes for the incense sticks. And how regularly? Let's find out. So people come to the shrine whenever they need help because they're sick, or if they are going away, and then they will ask Apamo to look after them when they are away from the village in a foreign city or a foreign country. And there are two major festivals that are held to respect Apamo. One is when the rice festival is in, a harvest festival, and the other is the New Year festival, which is in beginning of February, usually at some time. And you'll notice by the side there are various weapons which Apamo uses to protect the village against bad spirits. On the left side of the shrine there are some guns, and on the right side of the shrine there are some more old-fashioned weapons, all of which are in theory used by Apamo to protect the village. So Apamo, the god of the Lisu. So from here we can see some of the junior spirits, which you could describe as the spirits of nature, who assist Apamo. And there's one here, which you can see very clearly, and one behind him in a little wooden stockade. And there's a number of other spirits around protecting the village and working under Apamo, the god of the village. Alright, for the Lisu people, wealth is measured in how much silver you've got, and they make the most fantastic silver costumes, including this silver jacket here that this young lady is wearing to show you. Okay, and they make it in the village, so in a second I'll just show you them actually producing the silver. So here's a silver making factory with a lady clipping out little bits of silver and making them into the beads that get made into the jackets that you just saw a little while ago. I think you can see there. And it's a real village industry and very important, especially when these costumes are worn at Lisu New Year, which is around the time of Chinese New Year, which is usually in early February. Yeah. Okay. Kubumu. That's thank you in Lisu. So here's one of the jackets. Can we see the silver clips there? Yeah. And they take well over a month to make. And this jacket's worth getting on for $1,000 US, or maybe even more. So, very important to the people.
Only this button, silver button, costs already 5,000 to 6,000 baht.
Right, so that's more than £100, $130 just for one of those buttons. Okay, thank you, Akubumu, again. So Amima has been making textiles and cloths like this for how long? So which is more important now in the village, making textiles and silver or farming? So this is the finished product, belts and bags and jackets and hats in these very bright Lisu colours, which you can buy all over Thailand and probably in other parts of the world. Okay, so Kunchurai? Ale, okay. And so Wani Ben Pimai Lisu. Chu Pakkaด้วยมีชื่อลิซูอะไรกับชื่อไทยใช่ไหม so ชื่อลิซูอะไรชื่อลิซูชื่ออาเลพาโอเคมีลาเบลตัวมันดูมันเตือน so คุณทำงานที่นี่หรือทำงานข้างนอกเป็นทำข้างนอกทำงานอะไรโอ้ shit งานขายของในเมืองใช่ไหมเสื้อผ้าลิซูอ๋อขายผ้าลิซูจะกินข้าวพิเศษวันนี้ไหมครับผมกินอะไรหมูมาจากหมู่บ้านใช่ไหมกินเลี้ยงลิซูจีนอาหารลิซูเป็นอะไรเป็นหมูแล้วก็ข้าวหมูทอดหมูผักกาดแล้วแต่เขา We're in the village of Donloom, Lisu village, and we're here for the New Year festival. And tonight is the last night, and we're going to see some Lisu dancing and hear some Lisu music. So what happens at New Year, which is the beginning of February, is the same as the Chinese New Year. What happens is that every house puts a tree like this or a branch and makes it look pretty with lights, and then a group of girls will dance around every household's tree outside each house, each one bringing good luck to the family for the next year. Okay, so that's the end of the New Year festival for the Lisu. There are also a lot of fireworks, which you can probably hear. Okay, hey, get those. Right.
nước phở lốt.
So they will do this dance led by the shaman outside every family in the village to bring good luck for the next year. Right.